Shout out to That's a Raven. I'd be like, I'd have this like epiphany, and I thought they were like ideas, but they were like hitting me like, oh my God. I didn't think these were extraordinary things. I didn't think these were gifts. I was just living.
Welcome to Another Way Through, a podcast featuring stories of folks who used to trade their authenticity for safety and acceptance and have found their way to lives filled with greater peace, joy, and freedom. These stories will remind you and affirm for you that if you're thinking of following that inner voice telling you that there's something bigger out there for you, even if it's a little bit scary, that there's another way through for you too. Let's get into the episode. Welcome.
Thank you so much. Wait, I totally just jumped while you said welcome.
That's good. That's good. You're here. Thank you so much for being here, Ellie. I'm so excited. I was thinking about it. I was like, do I date myself? It doesn't matter. But we've known each other for a very long time.
Yes.
This point since college. Oh my God. Which is, we'll have our like 20-year anniversary soon, I'm sure.
That's so cute.
Isn't
we
it?
just celebrate.
Yeah, we have to. But we've known each other through so many different phases of life. It's actually so fun, and we'll get into like how fun it is that we're reconnecting now in this phase, in this chapter for both of us. But yeah, thank you so much for being willing to have this conversation and to share. And you're such a light in this world, in my life, and everyone that knows you, I know, feels that way. And so excited to invite you here and have you share with my community and this audience, and for us to connect in this way.
Well, I'm honored. First and foremost, so happy to be here just to have time with you. The second part is like, thank you for seeing my light. I super see yours. I see the impact you've had on others. I've felt that impact. And like, I remember meeting you and I was like, Erin is so cool. I was just telling my family, I was like, I was invited once to Erin's dorm. And I was like, I'm with the cool girls. Like, this was such a thing. And I'm like, and now we're friends, and you know, and everyone's cool, and we've talked about what that even means. And then I'm so grateful I've benefited from your coaching programs you've done. I was telling someone today, I was like, oh my gosh, she's my friend, she's a coach, but like I've experienced it, and it's helped my light shine brighter. So I'm super grateful. Like, don't get me emotional already.
Go straight to it.
And then I also just love all the transitions we've lived through, because I know that along my path, there have been moments when I've thought of like, as I'm transitioning, making big jumps, sometimes they were subtle, sometimes they were massive, but always there was a bigness to all of them in the shifts I was experiencing. And then it was like, who's going to remember me, or who's going to still be with me? Who's going to be like, I was down for that version, down for this version. And you're one of those people. And this moment right now, I'm like, we've arrived. Like, we landed, you know?
Right, here we are. Yeah. So we're going to get into it. So we'll go. I sometimes am like chronological. It's okay. People will flow with us. What is time, right? Yeah. But I feel like we sat down, maybe, was that 2 years ago? I don't know. Like last summer. Yeah. Like almost 2 years.
Like this chapter began.
Yeah, this chapter. And we were like really catching up because it'd been a really long time. Yeah. I don't know.
I think it'd been like 10 years.
Had it?
I think so.
So okay, yeah. I'm not making that up.
We had like dense chunks,
like
and
I
then
said,
gaps.
What is time? But so we've known each other since college.
Yeah.
I was a couple years older than you, which is why she's saying that I was a cool girl. But we're all cool.
Fact of the matter is, I stand by that. But also, I was young and impressionable, and you were a good person for me to see as an upperclassman. Like, I actually really mean that. Like, if I could cast people around me as an incoming freshman to Harvard, jumping the gun there on where we went. You may have talked about that already. Yeah, you're one of the early people I met who was like doing really cool things, because I didn't want to go there. I don't even know if we've had that conversation.
No, let's get into it.
Oh my
Tell
God.
us about your journey to Harvard. How did you end up there? What was it like for you?
Let me tell you, you are not the kind of person I thought I would expect to meet there, which is why this is such a big deal. Okay, so backstory, I was in Oxnard my whole life, and it was time to apply to colleges. And my mom was like, you have to apply to Harvard. And I was like, I told her so clearly, and I believe this completely. I said, Mom, kids from Oxnard don't go to schools like Harvard. And I was like, sorry to let you down, Mom. Like, that's not going to happen. And she said, and I'll forever remember, she said, you never know unless you try.
Right.
But like, then I said it more times, and I was like, okay, Mom, I get it. And finally I was like, okay, like, she's not backing off of this. And I knew it was coming from a place of like, had she known, she would have applied. because her older brother had done a summer program there. My dad had too. And I never knew that growing up. I never knew my dad. I didn't know anyone in my family had ever step foot. Thank you. No feet of my family had ever been on that property.
Never a foot.
Never a foot, not a single foot. And so it came out as I was applying, and I was like, when did this happen? You know? So I apply. It's a big secret. I told my mom, you cannot tell anyone. And she was a teacher at my high school. Yeah. So I was like, my mom's a Libra. She's out here communicating things, letting people know for the greater good. And I was like, don't tell anybody. And then I got pulled out of class by the principal one day, and he's like, did you apply to Harvard? And I thought I was in trouble. Like, who do you think you are to apply? And I was like so scared. I was like, yes, like so nervous. And he's like, well, they just check to confirm your transcripts, because if they ever confirm, that means you're already like looking good. Like they're basically, the flexes are beginning now. I had taken
let them all out. This is where this is where people come to. I want you to flex.
Thank
please.
you. I feel safe to flex. Thank you. Thank you for that, Grace. I had taken so many AP classes that they were like, is this even real? Because I went to a very public high school in an area.
GPA real?
I had above a 4.0. Who's making up these numbers? And I had taken, I think, 11 or let's say 11. I heard the download. We'll talk about how I hear things. 11 AP classes in, I guess, 4 years. But at this point, it was like, what is that? Fall of your senior year or something? Or no, it was springtime.
Okay, of junior year?
Yeah.
Oh, of senior year after you'd already applied. Okay.
And then the day I got in was on April Fool's. So then I was like, is this for real?
Cruel.
Right? Like I got an email and I was like, is this a real email address? Is this like some spam email?
Yeah.
Anyway, so I got in, and I had been visiting schools. Like I was dead set on UC Berkeley because my dad went there for optometry school. And I'm very much a child of first-gen parents. So the fact that my parents went to college, I always admire them for that. My dad having gone to it's not secondary school. What is it called? Like post-grad, whatever.
I think
there's a term, right?
Yeah, it's not secondary. Oh, girl.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. I think graduate school.
Yes.
Secondary, I think, is college.
Right.
Anyways, continue.
Well, he went to his optometry school at Berkeley, and so every summer we'd go visit the school. Anyway, this is like part of like the nurturing of my parents trying to like incubate these, kids to like keep the torch going kind of thing. So I was like, I want to go to Berkeley. But then when I visited, they said you have to do 2 years of the business program. You have to apply into the business program. You have to apply in.
Then we can circle back on this.
Yeah.
This is fun.
Oh,
because I went to Berkeley. Yeah.
Yeah. And
but
I'm curious for undergrad if you heard about these things.
Yeah, I heard it was intense.
Yeah. So I forgot the detail that matters why it was business is because I was on track completely. I was going to go to culinary school. Like nothing was going to keep me from that. And so I had done competitive cooking. I was, thank God it's a safe flex zone. Yeah, I was the, I laugh every time I say this. Like I feel like I'm an athlete, but like of cooking. When I was 17, I was the California state champion of cake decorating.
I had no idea.
No way.
No, I didn't know that.
Oh my God, that's so juicy.
I love that because I love all things baking, and I know that you're great at it, but I didn't know that.
I bought us decorating kits today for you and me.
Oh my gosh.
They're in my car.
What a gift. I've always wanted to learn, and look who I get to learn from.
Oh my God. I feel so grateful that I feel seen on the funniest level ever. Yeah. So I was like hardcore baker. I started when I was 12. Oh my gosh. So my life path was like, I thought we were on the same page about it.
Yeah.
The happy part, it is. I got scholarships. Like I thought this is what we all were working toward. Like my mom, I mean, they really supported me. My mom helped me do, actually the funny backstory, she helped me do cake decorating classes at Michael's when I was 12. But we talked about like, I hope they never get canceled. Anyway, please sponsors. I love you so much. You're my happy place. Just crafts, just SEO crafts, show notes, crafts. So when I was 12, I was like, Mom, I want to take these classes. I saw they had cakes on display and they had like a poster saying they had classes. And she said, well, you need to go ask about it. And so that was like her mom duty, like would push us to go ask for ourselves. And they told me, no, I was too young. And we were talking about like signs of the future when you were a kid.
Yes.
I loved baking when I was 8 years old. Like that was about the age I started like dabbling with oven use and stuff like that. But at 12, my little leadership sign was I negotiated. And I said, well, what if I have someone come with me who is over 18 years old? Yeah. And she's like, okay, like that works. Yes.
Like a
a guardian. Yes, exactly. So I have an adult co-signing my participation. And so she's like, sure, okay. Like she's kind of thinking like, did this kid bamboozle me? Like, is this even allowed? But she's like, okay, like some adult's going to supervise.
I mean, that's smart. Yeah. Like, it's not my problem. Like, yeah.
Right. And it was funny. I don't know what in my little 12-year-old brain told me like, this is the way. It just came it just happened.
Yeah.
And there's always little signs that you're just guided, right? And so I'm like, Mom, she said I can take it, but you have to take it with me. And she's like, oh man.
She's like, I should have asked myself.
What did I just get myself into? So she's like, okay, but you have to make all the cakes and all the frostings, get everything ready so that when she got home, it was like jump in the car with all my stuff. I was so stressed out when I was 12 years old. Aww. I was sleepwalking, which is apparently I had soccer.
Sleepwalking about the cake.
Apparently a sign of stress is when you sleepwalk.
Okay,
I don't know if that's the only reason, but yeah.
It's a serious matter. I'm not laughing.
No.
Okay.
I'm laughing at the fact that I'm bringing this up so casually. Like, baby girl was sleepwalking, but I loved it. Like, I loved soccer. That was my 1 year. I did it. Like, I did it in kinder, 6th grade. So in 6th grade, I'm doing these cakes, loving it. And so anyway, I get to high school, and now there's like intro home ec, but I was like, my school was public school / it was like magnet school for the arts. I don't know if they have that title anymore. It's in the hood. I went because my mom was a teacher there, and they did like professional courtesy because she's like, you can do this culinary program that they're going to develop because it's a brand new school. So I was a second graduating class, like brand new kitchens. I still like salivate at the thought of these kitchens. They're like restaurant industry style kitchens. Like, I don't even know.
A dream.
Like who signed off on the budget for this?
For kids.
Yeah. So I was in like all nerd AP classes, and then I was like cake. Well, no, not cakes there yet, but I was doing culinary classes with like all the kids from the hood, and it was cool because some of them went on to become chefs or like line cooks, and like it became a vocational track, which like my community needs that. Like the range became like vocational to Harvard, but like Harvard wasn't on the table prior, and even vocational programs weren't really common. So like I'm really glad both were nurtured. Like in my story, both paths developed. Like my best friend today is Ozzy, and he has a taqueria now, and he was we did our cooking together.
That makes perfect sense.
So then we did competitions, we had our little uniforms, we would do catering to pay for our chef's coats, and like we were super professional about it. So I thought this is really my path, and I love it now, and I'm so grateful, and I tell him all the time. But there was a point where I like cried, where I was like, Papi, what do you mean I have to go to college? Like we worked for this. Like my mom was our chaperone to all these competitions. Like they knew where I was headed.
This is the track that I'm on. So what changed when
I felt like I got bamboozled by my parents, where I was like, what do you mean I gotta go to college? Like it was so shocking because I was like, I had an interview with Johnson and Wales. I got into the Culinary Institute I got into the Harvard of Culinary School, to put it,
you know. Got into all the Harvards.
Yeah, like my past self deserved all the I got into every Harvard there is. I'm kidding. Someone out there's like, it's not. It's actually, I don't know, whatever. But yeah. And so yeah, we were at this Italian restaurant, and my dad was like, Mija, you really need to have something to fall back on. And he tried to be, the sensible, reasonable immigrant turned doctor who's like, he's not saying it, but he's like, we didn't work this hard for you to not continue. And also I think to their credit, they saw in me what I didn't yet. Right. I was like, I just do school because you make me. Like I do homework because I'm supposed to, not because this is not the path that builds to my career. I just thought like, you put me in these classes. I was in GATE in 6th grade, whatever. So I had to do it. So I was really frustrated. And the thing he had in his back pocket though, that was like, I couldn't argue against it, was I had worked as like assistant pastry chef through a vocational program I did junior year, where we had to do 6 months of intensive cooking, like 2 hours a day. I actually quit track so I could do practice for cooking competitions and stuff, but basically it was 6 months of learning the mother sauces, every way to make eggs, so you could be a line cook in any kitchen.
Wow.
And then 6 months in the industry, so not paid, but like working at a restaurant
like experience.
Exactly, like the work experience. So I did 2 hours, I guess total of, I can't do public math right now. I'm pretty sure that's 10 hours a week, 5 days a week.
Some substantial amount of time.
I did not end up majoring in math at Harvard. We can get back to that part. That's actually part of the story. But I'm pretty sure, though, I'm just trying to remember if it was 10 hours a week. I think so. And sometimes we'd do it on weekends instead. I was at a bread company. It was so awesome. I loved the bread crew. It was super cool. But they ended up closing because apparently it was like mismanagement of money. And they had amazing food, great clients. And so my dad was like, you saw what happens.
Ooh. Life lesson.
Yes.
Early on. You sure you want to do that?
Yeah. Like you saw
have
it.
The skills.
And I couldn't deny that, like, it made no sense to me. I was like, they had happy employees, they had great food produced. Like I was the scone girl. Like I did a lot of things. I used to chop, we realized I don't cry when I chop onions. It's my superpower.
Oh.
I told my dad, I was like,
it's one of them.
Thank you. My dad though is very smart. And he's like, do you wear your contacts when you're chopping onions? I'm like, yeah. And he's like, yeah, it's absorbing all the fumes. But no one at work knew. So they were
still
like,
in there. Where
I'm like
did they
peeling
go?
onion juice filled context. Not just kidding. So I was doing these like obscure tasks as like support to the pastry chef or the line cooks, whatever. But also I made like hundreds of scones every time I was there, and I just loved it. I loved it. Brought me so much peace. And as I'm telling you, I'm like, this is why I need to do more of this. It's like
Yeah.
so good for my mental health.
Same thing with your hands.
Tactile
That brings you back
activities.
to that.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so I loved it, but he had this really valid, good example. And so then I was like, okay, if I'm going to study something, because you people are making me go to
You
college,
people.
literally felt like I thought we were not on the same team that day. I was like,
Yeah.
I can't. Anyway, it was just funny because now I'm like, thank God.
So
Thank God they saw that.
when you got to Harvard, then
Yeah.
so you got in, you made the choice to go there. Tell us about what that experience was like for you.
Yeah. Well, I was convinced that I needed to do something with business because
Okay.
I'm like, ultimately, I want to get myself back on track. These people are sidetracking me. No disrespect if they see this, Papi. I love you. I'm so grateful.
It's okay. This is a podcast where parents might get upset, but we love them anyway. It's all said with love. Yeah.
No, I know they're proud of me. And we laugh at it now because it seems so insane to me. And then, so I was like, I'm never leaving California. So I was like, okay, I'll consider Berkeley, but like, you got to do 2 years of business applying. And then I was like, USC then. Fine, USC. My dad's willing to put his like Berkeley bias aside for this. And I'm like, I will sign today. Like, I'm ready to go to USC, get this business degree, and then open a restaurant or something. And they were like, you have to visit Harvard though. Like, you didn't get in and
So you
not
had
visit.
already gotten in and you were still like,
Yeah.
no?
I was
Okay.
so irreverent about this. I was like,
Fascinating.
no. I was like, why would I leave California? I live in the promised land.
Yeah, it's true.
I left and then actually realized how much I appreciate home. Like, I thought I liked it then, but so they made me go to Pre-Fresh Weekend to visit. And as soon as we got there, being super candid about it, I was like, this place sucks. It was cold. Everyone was super rude. And my mom is
Fucking Boston, man.
my mom is super delightful. So she's saying hi to everybody. And I'm like, Mom, you're freaking them out. Like, they're not responding. And I'm like, this is weird. And I didn't realize I'm so grateful. I live in a place like California where not everyone, but a lot of people are cheery on the street. We're also, it's good weather. We're in a
It's
better
warm.
vibe. We're happier people sometimes.
Good vibes.
Yeah. I mean, I
Yeah.
love Miami, I love other places, but like there's something about California friendliness that I didn't realize until I was super away from home,
Yeah.
like 3,000 miles away from home, had never lived in a cold place or even visited really. I was like, it's April. Like, why is it still, that period where
Yeah.
it's like,
Oh,
it's
yeah.
not snowy. Everything's just like dirty ice.
I have a story about this. I'm going to share really quickly.
Yeah,
And
go for it.
people laugh. When I was in my freshman year in October, I was walking around and I was like, I've never felt this cold in my entire life. I can't imagine getting any colder. And it was probably like 40 degrees because it's October. It's not real
Yes.
winter yet. So yeah, by
Oh
the
my
time you
God.
get through March, my birthday's in March, first day of spring. And I'm like, okay, no girl, it's still snowing.
Yes.
And then April, it's like, it's still holding on. So
Yeah.
yes,
And it would get
The
like
weather
dirty.
is really real.
Like there'd be like mounds of leftover snow that was just like
brown.
black, brown ice. Anyway, so it was weird. And I was like, the vestiges of winter.
It's still in April. I don't remember that part. But
Yeah, I think that weekend is like the one weekend it gets a little bit better on like a Sunday. Like, I don't know what Harvard weather gods do to like convince you at the end, like, it'll get
Hogwarts.
better eventually.
It's
Yeah.
Hogwarts. So we'll come back to that. Circle back.
Even that, yeah, like visiting, I was like, okay, this place is a trip. The dining hall looks like the Great Hall in Harry Potter. I grew up super obsessed with Harry Potter, obsessed. So my first impression was like, I don't like this. I'm not about it. But then distraction. I was distracted by the things that were unappealing to me. But then my hostess, shout out to Denise Payan, who is my hostess from Raza. She invited me to the Raza dinner, so Mexican American club. And I was like, okay, these people are fun. Like, I didn't think I needed to like find my people. I didn't expect to find people of my community there, especially because my high school was 93% Mexican.
Okay. Yes.
So I came
important.
from like brown everyone like we knew the different types of brown people. Like we're not all the same. Like the people who just come from Mexico, the people who like were on the water polo team, like the full range.
Yeah.
So I grew up in a not hyper diverse environment in terms of like lots of different cultures, but because of my like little pocket of honors classes, I had a lot of like Filipino friends growing up or Korean bestie. Like there was diversity in that way. So I didn't think I like needed to find that in school, but it actually really meant a lot because they were so welcoming. Because I know they were all like, we want you to come, we want you to have a great time with us. So they were super welcoming, which was cool. So that contrast was nice. I was like, oh, there are nice people here. It's not just that they're brown nice people, they're just nice at all. But then they took me out. So I'll never forget, like, thanks to Miguel Cerón, different people who took us out dancing that night. And I didn't go, oh my God, we get to talk about this. Did I ever tell you I didn't go to a single house party in high school?
No.
Like I didn't go to anything.
Yeah.
My mom had us on lockdown in the house
really go
doing
out in
homework.
high school either.
No,
so
so
I did
like
sleepovers with my friends, and it was like, oh my god,
that's a big deal.
That was the most.
Yeah. No, we got. I don't know if I ever got a sleepover.
Oh, really?
Well,
Okay.
I'm gonna speak for the majority of Mexicans. The outliers can like stay aside for this one, but like moms don't trust anybody. So like sleepovers.
That's
yeah,
fair.
like my classmates did sleepovers, but it was like, oh, like we got like cousin sleepovers. Yes, that's for them.
That's what they do.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. My grandma would be like casas ajenas, like homes we don't know, and it was anyway. So this was like huge for me that I'm like walking around campus at night, like adventuring, and it was so fun.
Starting to get free.
Yes. Oh my God, the beginning. So then we go to this dorm. It is so tiny. It's like the size of right here. Like it's so small. Like it's like a twin size bed and like a foot, and somehow there's like a little party happening. But
there's a party with the twin bed. Not even in the bedroom.
No one's
not
embarrassed
even
that there's
room.
a twin size bed. No, it's not a common room, not like
gosh.
common space. And it's sweaty, it's packed, like tiny, like tiny space,
those walls.
dripping. And I hear banda playing, and I had reached the like growing up in a very Mexican American household and family, extended family. Like we were into banda, but not everyone was in the family. And so I hear banda music, and I'm like, I don't even share this with my friends. Like, who's listening to this? And I see the girl who becomes my college bestie, Brianna, dance. Aww. She's also pre-fraj, dancing with another friend, Salvador, and I'm like, they know how to dance to banda. Like it blew my mind. Like this is so niche even among Mexicans. I'm like, this is at Harvard. Like
found your people.
Did not expect that. And it was like the fun parts, you know, like so I was like, okay, I can do this. And then I went to Fuerza Latina brunch, and I was like, okay, what do you guys do when you can't study business? Because it's like a liberal arts or whatever. So I'm like,
Harvard doesn't have a business degree. This context.
So I'm like, my only path to come back to my journey, you know, I'm like, fine, I'll listen to my parents. How do I make this work? I'm like, what do we do? Like, there's no business degree. So I'm like, okay, I guess I'll do like applied math and economics because it's like the closest thing I think.
Make a business degree.
Yes, I will force this. Oh, it was so forced. Those classes were so awful for me. I just did not. I took calculus in high school. It's like I did no math my entire high school experience. Yeah. So once I got there, I realized that wasn't for me. But there were people at these clubs who were like, oh, you get internships, you join women in business, you do these things.
They said, you'll have no problem.
Yeah, we will guide you. Yes, I know. Very good friends of yours were these upperclassmen telling me. I don't know that I met you pre-Frosh weekend, but I met other friends of ours. So I was like, okay, I'll make this work. And I was like on the low, so excited to have these like fun experiences I'd never had before. And I was like, thank God you good people made this seem like a place I could thrive and like at least enjoy myself and find a way to like reconnect with the things I care about, even though it felt like my whole passion had been taken out from under me.
Right.
So I had to like kind of reimagine myself, my career, and be like, I felt like I was like just kind of doing some like not dead time, but just like I was doing my time.
Yeah, putting in your time.
Yes.
To get back to what was really for you.
And to like get to the end real quick when I graduated, like the day I graduated from Harvard. My mom, like I never saw this coming. She handed me a Harvard apron and she said, you did your side of the deal. Now you can go paint, you can go cook, you can do whatever you want. And I was like,
I got chills.
Like
mommy.
I felt that in my whole body. Yeah, like they didn't forget. And I had let go. And I was like, Mom, like I'm on another track now.
Yeah.
And
4 years and I'm
I was like, I forgot that girl. But there were little ways I found it. Like I don't want to jump ahead too much, but I sold treats in college as my pop-up business. And like there were little things, you know, but their foresight and seeing in me this smart girl that didn't just cook, that was, you know, a leader in all these ways that I probably took for granted and didn't really think was like, oh, those are also building blocks for what I can do. I'm really glad that they did lean in as heavily as they did because we had a good relationship growing up. Like I typically like got what I wanted because I was reasonable and I asked for sensible things and like I wasn't like a taker and I wasn't like a bad kid. But so this was like, that's why I was also thrown off where I was like, we're always on the same page.
They really put their foot down on this.
Yeah, like this was 100% the way. And I was like, what? So not to harp on that too much, but I'm glad because in the end it led me to my life changed.
Yeah, like, you're grateful for it
yeah.
now. You couldn't fully see it. And what I'm hearing a little bit is like you were doing the things that you were really passionate about and you're really, really good at them. And there was this whole world out there that was even bigger than you could even see. 100%. And you didn't think that you even needed to go there because you were already on a path that made sense, which is really, I mean, that's really beautiful because I think a lot of people are like, the only way for me to do anything is to get out of my community or get out of my path. So it was great that you felt that sense of like you were being supported, but then your eyes were opened up to something even bigger.
My world got so much bigger. Another thing that they made sure of, my mom especially always made sure I knew, like, when you go to college, it wasn't an if, when you go, you will study abroad. Okay. And I didn't realize till recently, like, that's a pretty specific mom advice or parenting emphasis that also changed my life in a big way.
Talk to us about that.
Yeah. Well, that program experience? I did 100% came out of, like, the Harvard environment only is what, like, led to these things. So I think you can be successful if you did just go to culinary school or did just be a line cook. You can do those things. One of my best friends is an award-winning taquero now, you know. There's also a path where you can be successful at any school. So I always remind people, like, I don't think you can only find Harvard people or, like, smart people at Harvard, for example.
Of course not, yeah.
But, like, there were certain things, like, doors open in certain ways that were unique to that experience. So I'm grateful for those because I had considered studying abroad junior year, which is usually when people go. Mm-hmm. But I had this feeling, and I don't really know why, but I was like, what if I get bored if I just go to one place? Like, what if it's just, like, too much time? And I don't know. I mean, when you're in Europe or wherever you go, often you can go to other places.
Yeah, I can travel.
But this, like, kind of itch stayed with me. And so then a friend of mine posted on Facebook saying he'd just done all these extra trips in his study abroad program, and it was a global program. So he had pictures, like, with the pyramids on a camel and in China and all these places. And I was like, what is he doing?
Yeah,
That's what I want to do. Mm-hmm. So I Google, like, global study abroad program. And the first ad I get is for this program. And I send it to him. I'm like, is this what you're doing? Total coincidence. It's like the first thing I find. And he's like, that's the program. And I'm like, this is what I'm doing. At the time, Harvard didn't approve international programs, but it was based at the University of Nicosia in Cyprus. So I was like, here's this program in Cyprus I would really like to do. And my advisor, because I ended up studying sociology, he knew that I wanted to do sociology of economics. I dropped trying to do economics. It was not for I got through my first year like most freshmen did, but it was just like painful. It was too dry for me. But when it was about people and how we behave in ways that impact the economy, I was like, ooh, that's super interesting. Like, oh, because immigrants travel in this way to certain countries, that impacts what Pampers they're buying. Diapers. Pampers is already showing the immigrant bias of branding and like loyalty to brands. Mm-hmm. So he knew I had this interest, and this program was focused on globalization. Girl, this was literally what changed my whole life, because I feel like presently friends know me for traveling a lot and often very fast. Yep. Like I'm just moving around.
Tracks.
Yeah,
I'm like,
just like quick.
Of course, this is an Ellie program.
Yeah. So I didn't grow up going anywhere except Mexico until college. And one of my roommates freshman year was her family's from Spain. So they invited me to Europe, and my mom was like, you're not going without us. So they literally said, like, tell them we're coming too.
Oh my gosh.
So it was a whole family trip. Her family, my family, we all go together. So that was great. So it was my first time traveling anywhere outside of like my family. The ranch, and like Cancun was like our little splurge. You know, they were like, no, you don't get nice shoes, but we're going to take you to Mexico and take you to the beach. So they had their own way of parenting that I appreciate. And so that was the first time that I'd gone anywhere, you know, outside of the mainland. And then this program though it was 3 weeks in Cyprus, and then so 3 weeks there on campus, and then 3 weeks traveling and back and forth over and over again. So, and it was cool because there were no textbooks. It was all essentially case study method, where we'd like read an article or talk about, okay, we just did 3 weeks doing like Hong Kong, New Delhi, I'm trying to think of all the cities, Shanghai, Beijing, and then back to school. And then it's like, okay, what did we just experience? And they would take us to visit companies. We've never talked about this. Huh? It was meant to be right here.
Here we
because we'd go to visit like, okay, I'm trying to remember, like Bank Capital in India, and then Deutsche Bank in Hong Kong, and American Express in Paris. I'm trying to remember all of them. There were a bunch of different companies in each city. So we got to go talk to people at these businesses and ask them about their careers. And it was like, I just wanted to talk to people. Like, what do you do? Because I'm like, I was trying to cook. I don't know what business people do. Tell me about your life. And also, I don't have any family members who have worked at any companies like this. Yeah. And so I don't think I would have been interested in any kind of corporate setting, except for having joined Women in Business. This girl named Brianna Martí-Corena, I think is her last name. She was like, join Women in Business. And when she said that, it clicked. I was like, I'm joining. Yeah. I was one of the only Latinas there. And so I knew they're showing us like what a trade floor looks like for banking. I was like, that's not for me, but I want to see what else it looks like to just be on the floor and like, what does your day-to-day look like? So yeah, we got to visit all these places. It was amazing.
And it's like through the connection with people. I'm also hearing a theme throughout from little 12-year-old Ellie till then of like, you don't take no for an answer, and you don't look at like, oh, here's the one way of doing things, and that doesn't jive for me, but I'll just do it because that's the only way. You're like, no, I'm gonna create a way that works for me, including a whole study abroad program or a business, a major that was the aspect of business that was interesting to you.
It's like a creative yes.
Yeah, and I know that came up also later in your career a couple of times, I'm sure many times, but talk to us about us, me, and the people. They're not there, it's just me. Talk to me about, you spent, is it 10 years? 10 years at Google. That's a long time.
Yes.
Especially for people in our generation, right? Like, that's the older generations, they would stay. But for us to be one place for 10 years and to know that you had this passion for like variety and like tell us about what was that experience like, and how did maybe that lack of a willingness to say no, take no for an answer, how did that show up for you?
So I like that you mentioned a couple things there, because one of them, like, I did 10 years. That's long for anyone of our generation. At the time, I think most people were doing like 2 years at a company, and it was very standard. Like, you did your 2 years, what's next? Add on top of that I didn't know I was neurodivergent. It's so abundantly obviously present now, or clear, but that made it extra, I think, shocking to myself looking back. I'm like, they considered me like a lifer. People were like, you've been there for a long time. And I actually often got pressure like, hey girl, you've done your 2 years, it's been 5 now. And I held on because of what I was able to create, really. So I mentioned that it was really important to me to see people in the workplace, like just know what they did, because my family, there's a range of careers, like my mom being a teacher, my dad's an optometrist, we have like a nurse in the family. There's a couple different paths, but no one in business, and definitely not corporate business. My dad got into business later with our tequila company, so we can talk about that too. But yeah, entrepreneurship was like in the community, but on a much smaller scale. It wasn't like I didn't know what marketing was. So I bring that up because when I was a woman in business, all these recruiters would come to Harvard and say, like, we're looking for diversity and leadership. And I'm like, I'm the only brown girl or like Latina in this group. So I told my dad, I was like, do we know anyone in business that could like show me what they do? I need an internship. All my friends basically just called up their dads, and their dads hit up their friends, and that got them the jobs. So do we know anybody? And he was like, it was so funny. I'll never forget. He's like, I have a cousin in Mexico who runs a cheese company. And I was like, ask him if I can come hang out. Like, I like
sounds
cheese.
Like business to me.
Exactly. That sounds like a real job. So I even invited my bestie from college. I was like, hey, do you want to spend the summer in Mexico? Like, my dad's cousin's going to let me shadow him. Do you want to come too? Because we both didn't have internships, because we didn't come from places where people got internships. Yeah. So I was like, people do this thing. Because I asked him, like, do you have one? He's like, no. I'm like, well, we're home if you want to come with me. So while I was there, I started a group at Harvard called the Latino Business Connection. I really wanted the acronym LBC because I like Snoop Dogg. I just forced it. I was like, what word? Yeah. So what word starts with the letter C to make this work? Because I was like, they're looking for diversity. I'm the only one at these events. I know friends need jobs. So I cold emailed like 60 different brands and just found emails online and put together my little sponsorship kit and said, I have a group of, I think I got the numbers right. I think it was like 40 brands actually and 60 students, because I made a list of 60 friends who I thought would be willing to join my club. They didn't know I was doing this yet. And I was building my own supply and demand. And then I reached out to like 40 brands or so.
So you. I love it.
And I emailed them and said, I have a community of all these students in my student group, and we just want to meet people who work at your company. Can they show us the office at some point, or just like let us meet them? Because we often don't have role models, family members, contacts at these places. And I saw that a lot of people were applying to jobs in like consulting and investment banking. And I knew that investment banking, it was like those two tracks. And when I went to that trade floor in New York for banking, I was like, first of all, I thought iBanking was international banking. So like all this was new to me. And so when I got there, I was like, I would die. Like I could not. And bless the people who have it in them to do that. That's for a type of person. But I was like, if this can't be all that business is. And I was like, I think there's other brands out there. I had seen the movie What Women Want, and it's by Mel Gibson. And it was
movie references are not my yeah. It says, can't he hear?
Yes.
He can hear what let's come back to that.
I know, it's a good so silly. Oh my goodness, it's a good reference. I actually rarely get movie references, but this movie changed my life because it was the first time I'd seen what marketing looked like. I didn't know what an agency was. I was like, so they just take what people think and make campaigns. Like they made a Nike ad about like a woman running. Like it just opened my eyes to a different way to apply creativity and just thinking. And I was like, I love that. I think of ideas like that all the time. So that planted the seed. And I was like, I don't know anyone in marketing. I now know what investment banking is. Not for me. Consulting seemed maybe interesting, but I just heard upperclassmen say they were just really tired all the time. And I was like, I don't know that that's for me. So I specifically looked for creative industry business type companies. Yeah. So I emailed people at like MTV3, which was their bilingual station. I emailed people at Macy's, like brands that weren't recruiting on campus. And one of those is Google. So it's a long-winded way of telling you that. And I wasn't thinking of it for me. I met a recruiter and I was like, hi. I was like always pitching. I have this group. I have all these friends. We all want jobs. Would you, I mean, I didn't say it that way, but essentially, would you consider? Yeah. So actually, my friends got jobs at these companies, but specifically Google before I ever even considered it. And then the one who was dancing banda, Salvador, he said, when are you going to apply to Google? Yeah. And I was like, I'm not an engineer. Why would I do that? And he's like, there's marketing, there's sales, there's HR. Everything. Literally every job ever is at this company. I applied, but it was like, it's funny. I'd actually been admitted to MLT, the program, and I dropped out because I wasn't keeping up with the homework enough because I was so busy building
MLT's
this.
Intense. Shout out to MLT. We'll come back to that.
I love them. I get emails. They still consider me an alum. I mean, I did get in, and I've been to like one or two of their events here and there. I'm like, I'm the dropout. Sorry, but
it's okay.
But I had to make this choice where I was like, this group's amazing, and I'm creating something that like it's helping people, and I think I want to nurture this. And so that actually was one of those like big decisions for me where I was like, I don't want to let my coach down, my assigned person down in MLT. I love what they're doing and I believe in it, but something is moving here and I want to keep it going. And then Bianca, our friend, was starting the Latina Empowerment Conference. And so I was like, well, I have all these contacts for LBC at brands. Let me see if they'll sponsor us. Let me see if they'll have people like who might want to speak at the event. So it kind of merged the two. And then that became the Latina Empowerment and Development Conference, which is now LEAD. And it's going on like, I know, they like leveled it up after us. I'm like, these girls, these Harvard girlies.
They build on it.
Yeah,
it's still going on?
Yes.
Of course it is.
I went back in 2018 and it was the 11-year anniversary and I was the alumna of the year. And I was like, this is so crazy. Aww. Yeah. And it was interesting because I don't know where this came from, but I literally I actually don't know how this happened. Now thinking back, I'm like, my 19-year-old self, I found a template essentially for a sponsorship package. I found a sponsorship kit for a little Black children's youth choir group and just replaced
what do you mean you found it?
Like on the internet, like someone street in church. Oh my God. Okay. I found this. I don't even know how. I literally don't know how I found this. Guided. Yes. Always. I searched some terms that led me to this sponsorship kit and I replaced every time it said like Black Children's Youth Group, I said Latino Harvard Student Group and just, made it work for what I needed. It's so funny. The formatting I changed the colors. Like it was the template, right? I love a good template. I feel like all I'm doing right now is just creating templates because I want everyone else to know there's a way. And I didn't know it until I figured it out and it worked. And then I had upperclassmen while at Harvard. They were like, how did you raise money? Like I got brands like just a bunch of different companies. I'm like, should I mention them? You know what? To thank them. I had brands like Allstate just mail me checks saying like, we'd love to invite you to come to, well, I told them we're going to this conference. I see you're a sponsor. Can you help us get there to Chicago? They mailed me $5,000. Wow. And shout out to my mom. I needed to buy flights for students and the check hadn't come. And I asked my dad, like, can you just like front me the money? And he absolutely not. Like, no. I was like, I swear I'm good for it. They said they're mailing me a check. My mom gave me $5,000 and said, I know you're going to give it back to me. Make sure this trip happens. Wow. And friends legitimately got jobs from that trip. Yeah. Like a guy got hired at JP Morgan. A guy got hired. I got a Target internship from that trip. Which
you're
also
saved in my phone for some reason is Eliana Murillo. Target.
I love that just came up. Oh my God. After all these years.
I don't know why.
I love that needed to come up today because when I met the recruiter, he was like, we really want you to apply. And I was like, does he not understand I'm not a junior? I'm a sophomore. And he was like, shout out to this kind man. He said, we make exceptions for exceptional people.
Amazing.
And I know it's a phrase people say, but like he was applying it. Like I had to hear that to believe it.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, what would I do there? Like, I was like fighting it almost. And he's like, well, what do you like? And I said, I like food. And I had no smart answer. I told him I was still in that, like, I'm still the girl who did food. I don't know how to navigate a career in business, but I like food. And he literally got me a job. He placed me in the food division at Target. Yeah. And I can tell you what I did at Target. I don't know if should I keep going? I'm like,
whatever you want. If it feels like something, I have a lot of questions.
I know. I'm like, I don't want
questions. But
you know what?
Yeah, share what you
when
want.
there's a time to talk about how I like to build things,
Yeah.
I'll bring it back to Target, because that was the first time I built. Oh my God, I didn't realize that. That's the first time I built a product.
Okay. Yes, we're gonna let's get to this.
Yeah.
I do want to hear this. But I want to also circle back to one of the themes I'm hearing here is you were like, all of my friends, all of these people need something. There's a need. I'm identifying it, and I'm using my creative skills, my scrappiness to fill a need, not thinking like I'm going to do this so that I can put on my resume that I, created some whatever. It's like you were doing it from the like most genuine, like true place. Yeah. And then through that people saw your light, your creativity, like the person that said, we make exceptions for exceptional people, that you were shining in that way. So I just wanted to name that. And I'm sure that's something that has stuck with you guys. I know that you continue to like bring community together. So let's talk about the product. Let's talk about this. Cause I know, I'm like, obviously I know you, but I'm like, as we're talking, I'm like pulling out all of these themes that I think are like your unique magic. And it's this identifying a need for a specific group of people that have needed access to those kinds of resources and opportunities, and saying like, again, back to, I won't take no for an answer. I'm going to find a way. Yeah. And so I'm curious, you mentioned building things, you mentioned like creating products, like what are some examples of that?
So you just laid it up so well, because at Target, I realized there was a problem that no one else was seeing, and I saw it like in my own way. And with the group I started at Harvard, I think the reason it was so important to me is because it seemed really unfair. And I was like, it was like, okay, I started in 2006. I'm like, we're in the 2000s. How do we still not have the same access? And granted, I didn't realize a lot of things are still that way. Like today, it's still that way. It has not ended, and it's not,
nearly
progress is made.
Later,
but for sure. But I remember just thinking, like, just because my dad can't call somebody, that means I don't have this whole experience. Like, what if he did? What if I find that person? And in fact, we ended up finding people. Like my cousin met a guy who was a lawyer at Deloitte, and he helped me. Like when I had my sponsorship kit, I sent it to him. I was like, do you know anyone I can send this to? So I found my own way of realizing there were people in my network who could help me, but like it wasn't just, there was no silver platter kind of thing.
Right.
And I acknowledge that like there's a privilege my parents have in even being first gen and helping me like know like you're going to go to college and things like that. But like, I'm not first gen in the typical way, but I am like first to work in corporate, first to go to college away from home. There were things like my parents, they got me to level 10 and they did 10 out of 10. And then there was level 20. And I was like, oh, there's just a lot more,
Yeah, and they just never saw it.
Yeah. And then I was in school with friends whose parents had like a third grade education, or like my parents did, or like the range, And so I was like, okay, we're smart enough to hang here. I know we're not here as like diversity, handout, pity. Like these are so smart. Like the people here.
You couldn't really be
You couldn't survive.
Yeah,
like,
you wouldn't be able to survive.
All these issues around affirmative action, I'm like, we're not going to go into that. But I'm like, people, when you get there, you're working for it. And there's no doubt, like the extraordinary brilliance of people we've met, So I was like, that doesn't feel right. That doesn't feel fair. That just because you don't happen to know one person, like you just need someone to open the door. Once that door is open, we can work our way in. And I really believe in keeping that door open, obviously. But so it felt really important, and it felt like not hard. Like all I have to do is find the person who has the key. They're gonna open the door. You need good talent. I got good talent. I got all these people. We are ready. Yeah. Oh, and then I went back to school and was like, hey guys. So I started this club.
I signed you up.
And then I told them, I want you to pay me $10 to join my club. No one did dues unless it was like expensive groups that we weren't even really joining. But I was like, I'm going to put that money toward paying for our bus ride to New York, to go visit MTV3, to go visit BCG and Macy's, where people also got jobs on the spot. Yeah. Literally, like, handed them the resume.
Best $10 they ever spent.
Highest ROI. Yeah. Shout out to the return on that investment. Yeah. And so, and I don't know, I just did the thing. But so that was the solving of a problem that I thought was easy enough to solve. So when I got to Target, what they told us was, you have an internship team. We got assigned. There were 4 of us. Yeah, 4. And I'm like imagining each of them. They were great. They said, find a problem and solve it. I have not ever heard of another internship program like that. Usually there's so many ways you can have an internship. You're like, you might just be getting coffee. Structure. You might building, it could be anything. So my team, it was me and 3 boys. They were very good at Excel, something I had never used other than just organizing things in like Google Sheets. But like I didn't know any Excel spreadsheet formulas at all. No one taught me this.
That's what you learn at your investment banking internship.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I didn't have any of those skills. Yeah. Shout out to that. I mean,
That's
you
what
know,
I did. Yeah.
you're a smart girl. You did the things that like I really wish there had been like a class on that, like just like work life essential skills. So I didn't know how to do that. So I was like, okay, well, I just like physically could not participate. And they were like hovered over a computer trying to build formulas. And I was like, I have no idea what the hell they're doing. So it's just funny that the way this story happened was I literally had to do what I do best. And it did not look strategic to me. It was. It did not look smart to me. Totally was. I essentially did market research, but I didn't have terms for these things.
I didn't have a name for it.
I set up coffee chats with like 20 people. I was like, well, I'm just going to talk to people. Like, I just want to chat because that's something I'm here to do. Moon sign and Leo, I'm here to communicate. So I met up with a bunch of different buyers. So I was in the food division, and there are people who are in different categories. So we were in like, it was called pantry essentials, I think. So it was like peanut butter, pasta sauce, the stuff you like always kind of have on hand. Sidebar, one of the buyers asked me one day, he's like, do you want to be the person who buys all the peanut butter every month? And I was like, oh my God, yes. He's like, you're going to spend millions of dollars on peanut butter. And I was like, I want to hit that button yet. Like, I'm going to be the peanut butter girl. Literally, I told my mom, like, Mom, tell all my tias, buy peanut butter at Target. I think they're canceled right now. I don't care. This is my story forever. It doesn't matter.
This is like 19-year-old Ellie.
Yeah.
20-year-old Ellie.
Way before issues started happening that I'm aware of. Actually, it was actually very inclusive and cool. I was at headquarters in Minneapolis. I expected cornfields. I had a great time. It was not that. It was a very beautiful, developed city. But so yeah, like my mom was telling everyone, like, Ellie bought all the peanut butter at every store across America at Target. So that was like little like professional side quests, just like ordering it. So that was cool to know how people order things. So I would meet with all these different buyers across these different areas, and they all would basically tell me their secret. And the secret, because I'm pretty good at getting people to trust me when we chat. I was thinking about that today. I'm like, I don't know why people tell me their deepest, darkest fears and their challenges. I would ask them questions about how their work works and what was different across like dairy versus meat versus whatever, market pantry essentials. And all of them admitted they didn't know when to reorder food. And I was like, there's no like system that tells you like it's time, we've sold enough. They were guessing every time. But none of them would admit it because they all felt like it was like, it just didn't seem.
It would make them seem stupid or something.
Yeah.
Like they should know.
Yeah.
Everyone else knows. I don't know.
They all thought someone else knew. They're like, well, I haven't really figured it out yet, but no one was willing to admit it. So I came back to my team and I was like, hey guys, so nobody knows how to reorder anything here. They're just all guessing. And they're like, they didn't believe me at first. They're like, there's no way that's possible. It's like, Target was already established. It was Target already. It wasn't like bootstrapping little startup.
Target's been around for a while. I don't even know.
Yeah, in our childhood, it was
established. This is like too much Target name placement in this.
I know. I apologize to everyone who isn't fan.
Okay. Just kidding.
We're gonna Google a bunch of times. Don't worry, it's coming. But anyway, so I convinced them. I actually told them, go talk to them and confirm what I gathered. Like this, every single person said the same thing, and so it felt like they were being tone deaf, but I understood why, because it just didn't make sense that this wasn't possible.
It seemed very improbable.
Yes. Yeah. And there were a lot of comparisons to Target. Target set the stage for like, if they're buying 1,000 units of Nabisco cookies, Target couldn't get 100. You had to also buy 1,000. So they're paying all this money into warehousing fees. The nitty gritty is they were not only unsure of when to buy products, but they were paying tons of money to store all this excess until they could finally get through it. So I told them, like, let's just take some approximations of more or less until we refine it, and then please build some formulas out. And so that it flags, I was like, can you just make the cell turn red? Literally just use colors to signal when it's like an early app, basically. Yeah. In a spreadsheet, signal when they should reorder.
Yeah, conditional formatting.
Exactly. I learned way later what that means.
Nerd,
I love this. I love shine on that. I love it. So we presented the tool at the end of the summer, and I got to present it. It was the beginning of my public speaking.
Yeah. And
we did the projections showed us that in just our department, not even the whole food division, it was going to save them $5 million a month.
A month.
A month. And the executives, they did not see this coming at all. They were like, first of all, how is this a problem? No one knew this. Like little Nina up here, like, figured it out. Here's your problem. And then a way to solve it. And then they were like, we're going to apply this to the whole company. So the vice president who offered me the job full time after I did get the role, he's like, I'm going to make you an offer but I know you're not going to take it because I know you're going to go back to California. And I was like, yeah, I got to go home.
I'm not going to
But it felt so good to be like, I fucking did that.
Yeah.
And especially
wow.
after my team made me feel like, they literally were like, so are you just getting like coffees all day? Like very like Napoleon Dynamite vibe. Like, so you're just chatting with people all day? And I was
I'm
like,
in Excel all day.
yeah, like they were the superior talent on the team.
For sure.
Yeah, and there was like no way that what I was doing was contributing, and in the end, it was the way, and it was really cool.
So your way is the way, especially. I mean, I think that's the answer for most people is you see something outside of yourself as like the way, the right way, and you chase that, even if it feels not aligned. Yeah. And then you're doing something not at full capacity versus following your own way, even if other people are like, that doesn't seem to make sense or doesn't seem, like you said, strategic or smart. Yeah. And in fact, it was the thing that had you not done it your way, you wouldn't have ever gotten to that answer, right?
Yeah. I could have spent the whole summer learning Excel. And that probably would have, there's a different timeline where I did that. And I learned it. And like later in life, I did learn some Excel and I'm really grateful. And like there's been moments when those skills absolutely helped me. But this was doing what I do.
Yeah, what uniquely you could do and only you could do. Yeah. And so how does that similar like only Ellie can do. Can you talk to us about how that showed up at your career at Google, all of the amazing things you did there, and then when it started to really show that like you had to go your way and you didn't have to stick to what other people wanted you to do?
It was very evident early on when I started at Google as an intern. So this was now, I got the internship. This is going into my senior year. I noticed that all of the small businesses that were advertising were not diverse and not women. And it wasn't intentional, I could tell. But I asked, I was like, does everyone have access to these digital marketing tools, digital ads? And it's like, yeah, they're like literally, they're just online. You can just Google it. But I was like, red flag. Why doesn't my community know about this? Why doesn't any community outside of like, you know, privileged white men advertising? And like, this feels like it could be sensationalized, but it was just early days. It was a lot of agencies doing business in the way that it was done. And I was like, well, I come from a small town where there's a lot of business. Should we be mindful of this?
No. Oh. I mean, whatever. Put in context, though, for people. Like, this is, like, early... This is 2009. Yeah, okay. So, just in terms of...
I just heard own it. Okay.
Yeah.
This is just fact, yeah. And I knew I didn't go there. I knew my role wasn't to get mad. I knew it was... Actually, because I was raised to be very appropriate. So my default wasn't like, what the fuck is this? It was like, there must be a reason. Let me uncover what that reason is. Because it was so blatantly obvious to me. And I'm like, does no one else notice a pattern here? Like, not even women. That, in at least our book of business. I don't mean all the business. It just happened to be. And I think it was necessary for me to have such a critical awareness moment, because if I'd been on another team, I'm sure there were women advertising. It's not impossible. But it was like, thank God I saw a department where it wasn't the case, so that I saw the red flag. The red flag was that big.
Yeah, right. It was shiny enough.
Yes, that I was like, okay, this seems problematic, not just for my people, for everybody. Like, that just seems odd. Yeah, ethnically, by gender, by anything, it was just not diverse. And so I thought that was weird. And so I started telling people around me, I was like, so I'm from a small town. There's a lot of small businesses, but I don't know why they couldn't use these tools. I didn't say it that way, but I essentially said, like, is there anything keeping everyone from accessing these tools? Like, do you have to pay a certain amount to get advertising support? Do you, like, I was proposing reasonable things that might kind of gatekeep someone, like barriers to entry. Like, if you can't, is it a pay to play game situation, you know? And they were like, no, like, analytics are free. Technically, the ad tools for keywords are free. And I was like, oh, it's just an awareness issue. So that I was like, okay, this doesn't seem fair. This seems off. So the same thing. I'm like, in the way that I thought Harvard students are smart, we're competent, we can work hard, we just need the door opened. We just need to be aware of the opportunities. To me, it was pattern matching. I'm like, oh, that's an easy thing to solve. So I started finding, so actually, even as an intern, I was talking to someone, a coworker, who's asked me if I speak Spanish. He's like, not to profile you or anyone. I was like, I speak Spanish. It's fine. You're safe, basically. And so they needed help translating ads in Spanish because they had advertisers that were trying to reach Latinos. And I was like, interesting. So yeah, I was helping them. I would even call my mom, like, Mom, is scarf bufanda? Like, is that what we say? And like, but what would your friend Ruth, who's Colombian, say? Like, just to check, you know? So that was cool. Different. And I had fun doing it. And it was just neat, like a little side project. My project could have been done Oh my God, this is hilarious. My actual assigned project could have been done in like 3 days. Like it was not hard, but my manager was really busy that summer. So I just like let it drag so that I just had something to do. But what I was actually doing was doing a whole campaign on how to translate all these ads and like the market context and market research on like why Latino consumers matter to advertisers. And so at the end of the summer, that's what I presented. I was like, here's what I was assigned, but this is what I did. And I recruited all these people to help because they didn't have enough Spanish speakers to do it. And they would, the team doing it would ask me like, why are we getting so many ads for like grills, diapers, and wedding dresses? And my sociology of economics applied. And at one point, my dad was like, Mija, what are you going to do with this degree? Are you going to be like a social worker? Like he didn't know how to like wrap his head around it because now it wasn't business. And I didn't have an answer yet. I was like, I just like it. And people at Harvard told me, study something you like, intern in business, whatever. People don't really super care what you study as long as you have like experience and work to relate to what you want to do. So in that moment, I was like, oh my God, my classes on immigration are relevant. My globalization classes while studying abroad were totally relevant. So I would tell them like, well, a lot of Latinos are Catholic, which means there's a lot of babies. So there's a lot of diapers being purchased. And we have weddings and quinceañeras, so a lot of dresses. And with big families, often people want to gather in community, but also sometimes restaurants are expensive. So a lot of grilling. We have carne asadas all the time. And so it was really cool. Like now I could write a whole dissertation on how culture influences advertising because there are way more ads for certain products that other communities don't buy as much. Or like we're the fastest growing demographic and the youngest. We're having a lot of kids collectively. So there was all this coming up and I was like framing it from a business perspective. So my brain was like eating this up, loving it. And it made business impact. So when I came back full time, I recruited other Latino friends and I was like, hey guys, there's like a business opportunity to help general advertisers, which did become part of what I worked on. But the thing I love is helping small businesses and even teachers, my mom being a teacher, even students learning about using these tools. How do you help all these people that are doing great things do even more? And to me, the theme was access. Like, just give them access to the tools and they can do good things.
Yeah. I know there was also a time, let's see, I'm trying to think about, we have so much that we could talk about, and I want to make sure we touch on some of the really juicy parts. There was a time where I know you were looking for support and like leadership guidance that maybe you weren't getting, and you found it, and then you actually, once again, back to the same theme, sort of created something that went far beyond just you. Can you talk a little bit about how that's still impacting people? So
the still impacting people part. Yeah. So what I just mentioned about finding people to help me with this eventually became Hola, which was the community, the EBRG, Employee Business Resource Group for Latina Googlers, the company, which now has reached thousands of people in over 60 offices, which was beautiful. But it also became my job. So there was a vice president in marketing who saw me working with core marketing teams on like, get your business online programs for small businesses, but like, let's do it in Spanish. Let's do it bilingually. So she's like, when are you going to come do this in marketing? And I was like, I don't know. Like I'd heard it was political. I was like, I'm flying under the radar because I had 5 roles at Google full time. I had created 4 from scratch because of these projects I would do. So I'd be like, look at what I did with my 20% time. A phrase that's used there is like a side project thing. Imagine what I could do with 100% of my time. So that led to creating, like being an entrepreneur, which I love. But I was like, I'm already doing business development on the diversity team. I don't know if I want to do it in marketing. So she's like, bring me your job description, write it yourself. I'll fund your dreams. And I was like, which sounded beautiful. And I appreciate her support. But once I got there, like I was coming in hot and I was very young. I was like 23, 24. Yeah. And I was the head of multicultural marketing. And there were some people who didn't like me having that title. Like head of titles were for much more senior people. But this, bless her heart, this VP was like, are you not the head of? Because I was like, should I change it? Because I think some people have an issue with this. Mad. People are not playing nice right now. And there were just discrepancies because people my tenure, my year were just starting out. But I was, because I created a lane that no one was looking at, where I was like, somehow we've never done any kind of segmented marketing within the US, but also within any country. There's multicultural audiences in every country around the world. And so obviously we're aware of it here. So I pitched like, I want to do multicultural. They said, do Spanish first, like get that right. I'm like, okay, I'm going to focus on Latinos and Spanish first, but like when it makes sense, I want to apply this to other communities. it's not all the same. I don't believe in translating. I believe in transcreating. Like, what's the insight? Like, not all Latinos need it in Spanish. I have cousins who don't speak Spanish. They're just as Mexican as I am. So what are the insights that are going to make this relevant culturally or presently? Like, are we advertising in all communities? How are we doing segmented targeting online? Things like that. So I was proposing very different ways of doing things. I launched our very first B2B business to business, like bilingual ad campaign for business owners, and the first bilingual Chromebook spot during the Latin Grammys, which was like my dream. I really wanted to do Chromebooks because I'm like, kids need access to affordable technology. Like, these are way less than other brands. And I sound very biased in the branding of things, but I'm like, I just want people to have access to things that are helpful. I don't care what brand you're buying, but if it's good and useful, people should know about it. So as I'm doing this, people were becoming very skeptical and just like, are there any senior leaders that can confirm the strategy makes sense? We've talked about that a little bit.
Yeah.
And so it was discouraging, but it did push me to find an executive coach, to hire her to not only coach me and a dozen other people. Even when HR told me no, I was told not to put budget toward these things because I was in marketing, and they're like, it might look remedial. And I was like, this is leadership development. I'm taking the stars and helping them become superstars. That's my thing. And I didn't tell them in that way, like, just don't believe me, just watch. But I was like, let me just fund it myself. So that got a ton of people promoted. It was an amazing program. And that served as the template because now that's the SAGE program. And from what I've heard, over 35,000 people have now benefited, Black and Latino employees. Latina, however everyone identifies. I welcome all the terms.
Yeah.
And it was cool because people were then trained, like where I hired an executive coach, she then worked with me, we got her hired full time, to have a team of people that would train the senior level executives at the company and like senior level management to leverage internal talent and then have them learn about how do you coach someone through microaggressions, through salary negotiations, worthiness, fears, all these things that the average employee may not understand how to face and senior level talent may not know how to respond. So when I learned that, I'd already left the company when I heard the program not only continued but had scaled massively. While I was there, it had reached 20,000 people, and I left 5 years ago.
It's amazing.
Yeah, so that was one of the big shining star ones. Another one's quick side story is I also took a coding program for kids that was being rolled out across the country, specifically for communities where it's hard to find like tech education, computer science majors to become teachers. That was already running, and I was like, what if we bring it to Latino areas and make sure it's available bilingually? Partnered with the Hispanic Heritage Foundation. Shout out to Tony Tijerino. If you see this ever, I love you so much. He's an amazing partner, mentor, friend of mine. He and his team worked with me to bring it to, we did 9 cities. Pitbull School was one of them, partnered with him and his team, but mostly like local schools. And I told them, if I leave the company or even the department, I want to make sure you guys continue with this. We had like Latino college students mentoring the students, and it was amazing. After I left, he told me the program now with multiple different sponsors has reached over 100,000 students.
Oh my gosh.
And
Chills.
they told me no.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, creative, yes. We're going to do it this way.
Creative, yes. I love that. I love that. And it's just, you're doing things not just because, like, sometimes people say, like, oh, I don't take no for an answer. And they're, like, hard ass. And they're just like, whatever. It's like you are saying, I will create something that's going to have an impact on more than just me. It's going to be thousands, hundreds of thousands of people. Yeah. And, like, change their lives.
I will clarify one part because I'm like, thank you for this affirmation. When I heard a no was more on the HR front of the coaching program. This other program with computer science, what happened there was they already had a program. And for years I had said, like, what if we had a program at all? So they eventually did it on their own separately. Like, they get full credit for that. So the no wasn't like, no, you can't like have this, do this. It was more like, hey, I know you're already doing that. I don't want to like change it. And I don't want to take your job, but can we creatively yes this to, I didn't say it that way, but can I take what you're doing and yes and it to bring it to these communities and just tweak the things that make it relevant locally, like make sure the handouts to parents are bilingual so the parents know, like, what is my kid doing after school, you know, things like that. So in that case, it was true partnership where we did it together, but like our team ran it. And in that case, though, I could have taken it as a no in seeing them develop something and not include us. And instead I was like, it's okay. If anyone's going to do this, it's me. And that's ultimately what helped me leave the company, because for a long time I was like, who will do it if it's not me? And that made me feel really scared to leave because I felt this weight, like the community, like I don't represent every single Latina in my community. We're all different, but I'm the closest we've got to representative and I'm doing what I can to represent for me and even other cultures that there's connection with, you know, just knowing there's not a lot of us. When I was starting Hola, the group, and even multicultural, I was actually training leaders in the Black community and others where there was a lot of burnout for all of us. And I would tell them, like, if you help me with this and learn from it, please then use that in the Black community, the Native American group. And so then we could all collaborate more. And it felt really good to like instill in that leadership of like, we all can do more together. And I don't mean that in a corny, cheesy way. I mean that like, let's not reinvent the wheel. Like I learned from the Black business group early on. They were doing things with small business owners that was so inspiring to me. So we would like cross check, like, what are you guys doing? How can we benefit? And yeah, it was like, instead of being discouraged that it's not happening, I just told myself, don't get mad, get strategic, and like believe it's a leadership opportunity for me to grow. Just because someone didn't do it yet doesn't mean I have to be mad about it. I get to. And eventually, when I was ready to leave, I was like, there's enough people now, the people that got coached and developed across the company working on this work. It went from me and, you know, one person, then a 4-person team. When I left, we created, how many? 16 full-time roles based on this work. So I knew I could leave and it would continue. And it was like, there's more for me to do. I'm ready to do more things to support entrepreneurs and many other things we'll get into. But yeah, it was a big shift for me because as much as I was discouraged and kind of told and reminded that I was very young, they used to call me rookie smarts. I was very young. I was very audacious. And I'm sure a lot of people thought I was like stepping outside of the realm that like that had been carved out for me. But it was bigger than me, and I was supposed to do those things. And then it was like, okay, those challenges are what made me get creative, get strategic, and then prepare to leave once it was in place in a way that would continue and build that legacy internally.
It was in good hands. You could leave it. So, all right, I feel already, and I'm just gonna say this, I feel like we're gonna have to have a part 2 where we like have you come back and we're gonna really, really dive in. But there are a couple things that I want to like segue into to talk about. One is, you mentioned dipping your toe into like entrepreneurial, helping other entrepreneurs. You are what I would call a classic multi-hyphenate at this point, right? So can you talk to the people about what are you doing now? Like how are you sharing your gifts with the world now? And then, I have so many questions and I want to get into like some of your gifts.
Yeah. And I'm like, she's saying the word. Do we go to gifts?
You take that where you want to go. But I think, so I'll give this little anecdote as a like jump off point. And I do think we could have like a whole separate conversation just about this. But when we reconnected most recently, we sat and we had a conversation, and you were saying like, I could tell it was like, wow, this person has known me for a really, really long time. You know, this version of me, you know, the corporate version of me. And there's like this new aspect of how I'm like, what I'm stepping into, me fully embracing all of who I am, that I knew you were like a little bit nervous to share. And I was like, you've come to the right place.
Yes.
Tell me. And so if you could tell us, like what has been the journey to like fully embracing all aspects of, you know, you were being guided. You weren't just like, you weren't only just like brilliant and smart and creative, but you were also tapped into something bigger. So can you talk to us about that?
For sure. So I'm like, the short of it, the long of it. The quick answer today, if someone says, what do I do? Let's do that. I would say, I'm hearing what to tell you. That's so funny. Okay, that's part of the hint. I'm a psychic medium. I'm an entrepreneur. I'm an angel investor. I'm also a creative. I'm crafty. I create products that I am now getting ready to create at scale. I'm an integrative wellness and nutrition coach. And I get to do all these things because I retired early. So there's the part that I'm learning to feel comfortable talking about. Actually, funny enough, because what you were referring to is I wasn't comfortable talking about being a psychic medium. Cannot even believe I'm using these words now, which is amazing. You're one of the first friends who knew me then, who I told. And I think at the time I only said medium because even the word psychic like freaked me out because I was raised by parents who were like, either it's measurable and it's all science, my dad, or it's Catholic. And now I know there's a lot in between and I'm still Catholic medium. Catholic mystic is the term I learned to say. And it's all tied in together because saying what I do now and even how to jump from like, you were just talking about Google and ads and small business and this. So when I was at Google, I had this experience, 12 years ago. Is that right? We're in 2025? Yeah. 12 years ago, or maybe 14, I don't know. A little over 10, where I had my spiritual awakening moment. And I had an experience, and I'll maybe save this would be cool for part 2, but I had this experience where I was in an extreme state of extreme emotion and extreme faith. I was very scared in this particular moment, and it was not work related. I was on my way to work, where the short, tiny version is I got lost, like physically got lost. So I wasn't really religious in college. I was always raised Catholic, but I didn't like do, like we went to church semi-regularly with my friends every now and then, but like the day before finals, we all went to church and we're like, God, please help us. So it was just sort of like, people just didn't really talk about it. It was like we were into science and history and, you know, anti-colonization and all these different things. And I was just kind of like, I've learned some things. So like, you know, I was not participating in a faith way as much as just like the cultural norms of like, and the routine of doing certain things. Mm-hmm. I didn't go all the time. And I actually wasn't even raised going every Sunday, but my family's very Catholic. So that day of fear on my way to work, the day of fear is actually a funny way to put it. It was the scariest day ever. Trying to get back, trying to make it to work. And I prayed so hard that day. And I was just like, God, Jesus, Virgencita, like every person I could think of that might be above me, please, if you hear me, help me get home and help me get to work. I had to get back to return this car I'd borrowed. Longer story later, but I had to return a car that I borrowed from a friend, and I told my team I was going to be at work. So I'm like, they're expecting me. I didn't know that in a heightened state of emotion and faith, your channel can open. At least that's my experience. I'm not sure how other people describe it, but like that fully opened me up. And I didn't know that. I didn't have this like, you know, lightning didn't strike, but like that's the moment that it happened though. I traced it back later. And so what started happening though after that was, it was really funny. So I'm like, thank God, shout out to brilliance and like being smart and competent and getting over imposter syndrome and things at work. So I knew I was like in a good place with work. Like I was, you know, at this point I'd started my team and things were good. Still facing challenges and things, but I didn't know I was tapped in now, meaning I would get downloads. I had like That's So Raven moments all the time. And Diana was on my team.
That's a Raven.
Shout out to That's So Raven. I'd be like, like I'd like have this like epiphany, and I thought they were like ideas, but they were like hitting me like, oh my God, like I just saw it. And my Diana on my team would be like, oh my God, That's a Raven moment. What just happened? And then she'd be like waiting for it. And I was like, okay, you're going to think I'm crazy, but I just got the whole plan. And so that would happen here and there. That was first just like super big. And now I know the term for that is claircognizance. I had no words for these things. I didn't know any of this was like supernatural or like whatever words. I don't really use that word that often. It's funny that one came to mind, but like I didn't think these were extraordinary things. Mm-hmm. I didn't think these were gifts. I was just living. And eventually I co-founded a startup within Google. So I was co-CEOs within an incubator. And on that team, I had way more flexibility to do even more of what I wanted. Because there's so many things I could tell you about. Like multicultural marketing allowed me to do things like collaborate with record labels and work with small businesses. And there were so many cool things. But with an incubator experience, now I finally didn't have to tell anyone what I was doing. A lot of the challenges came before because I didn't explain the how enough. It was just magic. But no, there's magic now. It was just like, it was me being in my element, doing things because they felt right. I was being guided. I was saying yes to opportunities and things made sense. And the people around me were like, basically like, how the fuck is she doing this? Like in 1 week, the general team got 12,000 impressions on a hashtag for a product, and I got 12 million doing the same thing, but my way. And it was like, this is shady. This doesn't make sense. People didn't trust it. So I had a lot of backlash for just being excellent at what I was good at and leaning into it and not worrying what people thought until they thought it. And then it was like, well, I did the thing already. Sorry, guys, crushed it at your job. Not to be too sassy about it. I did pray to God, if I'm meant to be feisty, only do it from a place of love because I was helping people. I was like, I thought we were on the same team doing a good job. Mm-hmm. I didn't know it's not the same team sometimes. Yeah. So then that was phase 1, right? And then phase 2 happened where I was in this incubator with my own designers and engineers who are working for us. Like we're all building this platform together, building another product to help small business owners. And I would just get the plan and I would just start whiteboarding and it would just like come through me. And sometimes I didn't even know what it didn't make sense to me fully. Like I couldn't code it myself. So I would ask my engineers, especially Joel was there, and I would ask him, does this make sense? Like, can you code this? And he's like, yeah. And I was like, don't lie to me. Don't just say this to be nice. Just because my handwriting's cute. Like, make sure this makes sense. And he's like, no, this tracks. And I was like, I need to make sure, because like we're not going to build a whole product based on my little. And it wasn't full That's So Raven moments. It was, but it was also like automatic writing. And it was just, I haven't checked it. My higher self was. Okay, so I'm hearing as I'm saying this. I was channeling my higher self and I was just receiving downloads from the universe. Thank you, God, for this connectivity. And I didn't know what this was, but like my team, like I would like deliver the strategy out loud and I would just go in the zone. And then they'd just kind of stare at me and I was like, sorry guys, I kind of feel like I just blacked out. And they were like, it's okay. It just kind of feels like you're meditating. And this became a thing. They were like, oh, she's meditating again. Like they just, like we were calling it something. We were aware of it. We weren't pretending it wasn't happening, but I didn't know anything. I didn't know how to explain it. It just happened. Years later, I asked Joel, I was like, what did it feel like when that happened? And he was like, it just felt right. Like capital R, right. And I feel it now. I could feel it that like, it was just like truth. And this thing had to be built. And it was the most efficient way to do it. It was strategically designed. I always say it was by divine design. And I talked to an aspiring priest who's in seminary school and I told him I use that phrase. And he said, oh, we call that divine providence. And I was like, oh, I didn't know that phrase. Cool. I love finding the phrases that are real, that like in religious and faith circles are used. And I like to see the parallels to the ones I'm kind of coming up with or that I receive. And I told him, I like that and I'll like use it. My family often will now say, when I refer to things, they're like, oh, divine providence. And I'm like, cool. Yeah, that one. Yeah. I'm like, and I still like divine design. I told him, I think God is the ultimate designer. And that was received. That wasn't of me. I'm grateful to be the vessel for it. So to hint to now, like, it's taken me on this journey of like really understanding what my gifts were. I was getting downloads. I was getting visions of things before they'd happen. I'd have dreams of things as they were happening, which I didn't know it's remote viewing, some astral projection, like so many things were happening. I didn't have all the words for them. I just had this like growing kind of like book of experiences. I was like, oh, this happened. I didn't connect the dots to the fact that my dad's grandma had tons of gifts and they would tell me that she talked to the ants and they told her when it would rain and she would have dreams before things happened. She knew my dad was going to visit when there were no cell phones, no landlines, like nothing. And she's like, oh, you guys are late. And he's like, who told you? And she's like, I dreamt it last night. And so there were little, like, it felt like lore of the family that I first didn't really think was true. Yeah. And second, never thought I would inherit. And I didn't know it was on both sides of the family. So it's basically like Secret Encanto, the Disney movie. And more all the shout outs to the brands today. What this really means is where I'm headed is starting my own brands and own companies to make sure we are telling these stories and that it's inclusive and not cancelable because we are just listening to the people rather than telling them what to do and think. But it was beautiful to like, I want to acknowledge the feelings happening. Thank you for being with me in this storytelling. What is? Don't tell me about the tea.
No, I'm just kidding. No, I don't know. The emotion's coming, but please.
Yeah. No, I'm. You preface the feeling of, I had my like spiritual coming out moment to my mom, where I was so scared. I was so scared to tell her I could talk to my grandma who passed away. I was so scared to tell her anything. I was like, she's gonna think I'm crazy, and she's gonna think I'm getting into weird shit. She's gonna think this is like not of God or not good or something. And she knew I could like use a pendulum. And one time she was like she's like, who are you asking questions to? Freaking out. And I was like, my angels. I'm scared.
Only good ones. It's only good.
It's only light, I swear. For the record, 100% always. And I didn't know that existed, that there's a way to be spiritual and claircognizant, clairvoyant, clairaudient, all the clairs activated and all the connections to our higher self and, healed ancestors and angels. No one talked to me about this in the religious context, and I felt like I was learning more about my gifts in the community of folks that are more like spiritual and new age. And I don't like the term woo woo. I think it diminishes what it is. Yeah. But so I was like, my worlds aren't reconciling. Like I can't talk to my family about this. They'll think I'm crazy. The spiritual community feels like they think I'm almost silly for bringing up Jesus and God, but I'm like, wait a minute. I shouldn't say it this way, but I was like, y'all fuck with this too, because you're talking about Christ's light. I'm like, that's the same Jesus. So it really brought me to embrace my Catholic upbringing and find the faith find the spirituality and like the root of faith. Because my family is very faith-based. They're very religious, but like they believe so hard and they will pray for you. And I thought like these are words we say at Christmas. I don't know. Like we typically, my immediate family, we didn't do the rosary like every day. My grandma prayed every day, 3 times a day. Like, and at 3:00 when Jesus died, like super purist by the rules kind of way. Yeah. And I didn't know they had like that words like have magic, that God is magic, right? That like now I'm like, I'm blessing every water with our fathers. And like, it's been a beautiful blend of not only the spiritual, the faith of religion, and then the intellectual aspects of the metaphysics and what it means to be clairvoyant and have all these clairs activated and measurable things even. Like I can see with my Aura ring, not sponsored yet, Aura ring, like when I'm in a relaxed state and I'm channeling, and when I'm more stressed because I'm trying to pull and I need to not pull, because if it's meant to be, I'll just receive it and not get like, not become a spiritual perfectionist. I'm trying to get all the answers right. And so in that moment when I was afraid to say the wrong thing to my mom, I was like, Mom, like I talked to Abuelita, and she's like, okay. And I was like, what? And I was waiting for more, and she's like, your tia Concha and tia Vicky have been talking to my dad for years. And I'm like, you never thought to tell me? And I was just so sidetracked. I was like blindsided. I was like, I didn't think she'd have any kind of response of like, oh yeah, this is familiar, this is in our family. And I was like, I was afraid you'd think I was crazy. And she's like, this isn't crazy, this is normal. And I'm like, Mom, this is not normal. Like let's not pretend this is normal.
What's me? Yeah.
So my mom affirmed me, and I did not expect that.
So
and I've given them shout outs, and it hasn't always been easy in certain ways, but like I've given them shout outs for supporting me along this journey, and all those are super valuable. But I think the one I needed the most, like for my mental health, was this one. Like how they've been supportive of me on the spiritual journey, because I never in a million years thought I didn't think humans had gifts. I thought it was all Harry Potter. Like this movie, like now I know a whole lot more about Harry Potter's real than I thought. Like a lot of the fantastical is rooted in things that are true. And I didn't know, like people often specifically don't talk about women as mystics, but also like just there's so much that isn't commercially or like conventionally talked about. I didn't know in my family this. I mean, I recently found out that my dad's cousins all have gifts, and our family isn't even talking about it. So the more I share, it's opening them up, which has been cool. But like my parents have been so supportive. Even like I make energetic spiritual cleansing soaps and sprays, and they know sometimes when I'm like, Papi, you brought something home, I'm gonna spray you down. And he's like stands there and I spray down his chakras. And my dad has gifts, which he's just learning to believe in and understand. And I taught him how to give me light when I've had attachments, and I've been like, Papi, just hold me and give me white light. And he literally, I have to have you see this one day. He will put his hand on my third eye and hold my head and give me light, and I will literally burp, and it's like whatever was with me is released. And I remember trying, because I told him, I heard tell him to give you light, and I was like, oh, this is so embarrassing. Papi, can you try to give me light? And at first I was like whatever about it, because it sounded wild to me still. And he would kind of put his hands and didn't really believe it. And I heard, after many times, tell him to just believe. And I was like, Papi, you have to believe. And so he like he kind of tried harder. and then I felt it. And I was like, I felt his light, and it was like sparkly and beautiful. And I was like, whoa. And then he looked at me and he's like, Mija, I feel like our energies just like merged. And I was like, it's because you believed. And so now he does it. He even does it remotely. Aww. One time he and my mom texted me good luck or something, and then I like felt like this burst of happiness, like joy. And I messaged him. I was like, Papi, did you send me light? And he's like, yes, I did.
You did. That's so beautiful.
Isn't that the sweetest?
And I think that's such a perfect note for us to say to be continued on. Because this idea of actually believing, right? And we've talked about this recently, and I literally yesterday, it was like these moments where we feel like we're connected to something, where we're in flow. Even on this podcast, I've experienced it. My producer knows, where he's like, you got into a little pocket there. And it was because I was really just locked in, and then I'll catch myself and be like, oh, wait, what was that? And then I fall out of it, right? And it's this idea that we've been disconnected from, and what you were sharing about your ancestors, your grandmother, your aunts, right? And we don't talk about it. We go down a path of pursuing the right way, right? Going to the Harvards of the world, and shout out to them, right? There's value in that. But now it sounds like coming full circle, you're at a moment where you're combining all of those things, right? You're reclaiming what was from before, what has always been true in your lineage, and what you got to see uniquely, only you got to experience, but you've been doing it your own way all this time. And that's what has really worked, is when you're doing it your way, not only the way that someone else told you.
Yes.
And now you're at a place where I know you're going to be sharing your gifts with the world a lot more. Yeah. And I'd love to have you back if you'd be open to it, to like dive into this, because this is something I will say, it's been such an honor for us to be able to connect on this this specific part of our 100%. Journey. And as I'm coming into my spiritual gifts more and more, just to have you as a thought partner and a mentor sometimes, and a peer and just a friend on that has been so powerful.
Thank you.
So with that, if there's anything that you want to share as sort of like advice or guidance, either for like
Sure.
a younger version of you or someone that might be like coming into these gifts at this point, and
Yeah.
then we'll dive way deeper into it
Yeah.
next time.
So I want to say that actually this is the very first podcast I've ever done admitting to being a psychic medium, to having gifts. So that's a big deal. It had to be you. Like this was so meant to be. It was scripted already.
Honored.
And I'm bringing back my podcast, both my day-to-day living one and one focused on spirituality. I realized like I want a place for just that, and also like the day-to-day. And so I think the advice for a past version of me or anyone coming up, or my inner child, all these parts, is what came to mind is to not actually, I heard it and I agreed with it. I heard the phrase, and higher self, embodying higher self. The phrase is, don't be afraid to blend. Because right now, I do coaching, consulting for businesses still. I consult the city of Oxnard as an advisor, which I'm happy about, their recreational department. And what I'm learning to lean into, and I'm loving it so much, is my 3D self is still smart. And I can still just talk about business. I can talk about your goals, your wellness for coaching, whatever. But when I hear someone is open, I'll tell them. And I ask them, would you like to hear what I've received for you? Or would you like for me to ask your higher self? And so incorporating the spiritual into the strategic has been so incredible. And it's awesome because sometimes I get answers for people, because now I do sessions, I do readings for people. When I receive for them things that I don't even know anything about, that just reminds me, like, this is why it's called a gift, because I'm gifted the opportunity to be the vessel to receive things that I don't even have context about. And it's helpful. It's always for their greatest and highest good. I made that a parameter for myself. I only want to receive messages that are for my and their greatest and highest good. And embodying that, like, there were so many moments of fear where I was afraid to like bring it all together or admit things. And the more I embrace, admit, and like shine into it, it's like so beautiful, nutrient dense, rewarding, all the things. And I'm like, I don't regret the moments that wasn't the case, but I'm looking forward to now, like when I hear to do something that's scary, now I'm like, I gotta believe. I have to dare myself to keep believing, because it may be something that like I'm being guided to do, and I don't have full foresight. My 3D self only knows what's right in front of me, what's within me, but knowing that there's so much more, it feels really good. And I just feel like literally anything is possible. And I don't think you need to say you have gifts to receive. We can be in flow state. We can really listen. We can trust our gut more. I think you and I have both had gut instinct since we were very young. And that's part of why we've both done specific things in our lives. And also often we didn't know that was clairsentience.
Yeah.
That gut feeling isn't just the gut. There's something divinely connected there. And I think that exists in everyone to a certain extent, and as much as someone's willing to believe and to trust that it's there. And my downloads get so much juicier and specific the more I believe. So I'm like, I once told my psychiatrist, because I made sure I had a full mental health team I was on this journey, I told him, it is a detriment to me not to believe anymore. What I thought maybe made me feel almost not crazy, but like, is this real life? Is this really happening? It doesn't serve me. It serves me to believe.
Yeah, I think we'll leave it there. I think that's so beautiful, and I think that's a message for everyone. Whatever it is that you're going through, trust and believe that you are connected to something higher, even if it's just your own higher self. That's what you believe in. And the more that you trust, the more that you'll be able to hear it. Yeah.
Thank you, Erin.
Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you.
Okay. Bye.